next guest called it the worst performance he has seen from any team this year when the Jets got demolished by the Colts on Monday Night Football, losing 41-10. We also discussed earlier how Doug Peterson called his team out for not playing hard after the Eagles lost to the Bengals. Damien Woody in the house with his crispy line. How we doing, my friend?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Molly. Chris.
Looking good.
What's up, my man?
What's up with
good?
you, boy?
That's a straight razor, right? You went with the straight razor with the alcohol and everything, like yesterday, I would say.
Man, it's laser sharp.
Yeah.
It's laser sharp. Yeah. What's the deal?
That was real bad last night.
Yeah,
that was real bad.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Damien, how do you know when a football team's quit?
Wow. Well, first of all, go ahead.
The reason why it's important that we ask you that question is because, just for the purposes of this, we're watching other shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ryan Clark was on Mike and Mike this morning, talking about how he has a problem when folks say you quit, because a lot of times he sees effort out there. People just ain't effective or efficient, which is why we want to know, what is quitting? Define to us how you can see it. What did you see last night?
For me, first of all, let me say, as a former player, one of the last things you want to do is really question other player and say that they quit.
Right.
But with that being said, what I saw on TV last night, and particularly I look on the defensive side of football, because defense is usually defined by hustle. You know what I mean? Like guys sprinting to the football, getting after it. What I saw from the Jets last night on the defensive side of football, it was probably the worst effort that I've seen from any team all year. I mean, take, for instance, the Jets defensive line. Now, coming to the season, that was supposed to be the strength of the team. They got a bunch of guys who are, star name players going against the Indianapolis Colts offensive line, which is the weakness of their team. Andrew Luck had all day to throw back there last night. All day. And when you look at the Colts offensive line, they got a rookie at center. They got a rookie at right tackle. A second-year right guard. I mean, this is a unit that's been bad. So you would have thought going in, okay, this is a matchup that the Jets should just dominate and get after Andrew Luck. Didn't see any of it. Nothing. Guys weren't even registering on a stat sheet last night from the defensive line. Then when you look at Andrew Luck throwing passes all over it, guys were just busting coverages, guys running wide open. I didn't see anybody like angry, pissed off, or any of that.
I totally agree.
From the defensive side of football.
I think I could take a step further and tell me what you think of this. What I'm thinking is, I can't readily recall another nationally televised game in any sport where I saw a team quit to that extent. Like, I think if someone said, what's the, a short list of the quittingest team you ever saw, that's on it. Like you said, this year, but when was the last time you saw it to that level where it's like, can you guys try a little bit? There was no effort.
Yeah, and the thing that disappoints me is, you just look at last week when they played New England. I mean, they took New England to the brink last week. And to come back this week on national television and to put out that type of performance, to me, it speaks to the character of the team. Because you shouldn't have that type of effort displayed on national television. Listen, your resume is being put out there every single time you step between the white lines. 31 other teams are going to look at that tape, look at your effort. That's your signature. That's your moment. And to put that out there, come on, man. That's ridiculous.
Let me say a couple of things, and I'm just going to go here. First of all, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. One of the things that I love most was George Steinbrenner. I used to love when you'd see him in a suite and somebody made a mistake and he was ready to raise holy hell. Yeah, he might have overreacted. He might have been too much, but it was clear if you're going to wear his uniform and play for his franchise, the last thing in the world that man had better ever question about you is your effort. It better not happen. And that's what I always appreciated and loved about George Steinbrenner. If I were Woody Johnson, not that this is plausible because there's a union, there's a players association, this is one of those rare moments I believe the owner would have been justified in walking into the locker room trying to withhold dudes' checks. This is one of those moments. That's how bad it was in that first half yesterday. I could not believe how I saw guys literally, am I lying, walk into the end zone. Like, walk. And guys not even come at them. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then I'm going to go here. look, man, this is more applicable to college football than the NFL. But there's only 5 black coaches in the NFL, and we look at the big time college football. We don't see too many, of African Americans in these positions. And Max and Molly, and he'll know where I'm going here with this. The opportunities are so scarce. You cannot have a black coach and the effort of the players is being questioned, because everybody ain't Jeff Fisher, especially the brothers. And you ain't getting that kind of latitude and leeway. You mess that up, that's the kind of stuff that cost you the most, because what the owners don't say quietly, but all the African American coaches fully understand this, is that when it comes to young men, a sport like basketball, a sport like football, where you have predominantly African Americans playing the sport, when you don't perform, that's one thing. But when your effort is questioned, it's a direct assault on the coach, because they look at that coach and they say, you can't control these dudes. They can't even go out there and fight for you. What I need you for? That's what happens. And that's why you can question efficiency. You can question game planning and schemes and all of this other stuff. But when you are a black coach and the effort of the players are being questioned, it is the ultimate death knell. And those players know it. And to go out there and perform like that last night is just so shameful. I can't even say anything else.
As a former member of the Jets,
did I say anything wrong, by the way?
No.
I mean, is there something with the organization? I always say a fish rots from the head down. And the Jets seem to me, as a Giants fan, I'm always laughing at them. It's always like a dysfunctional organization. When I have my Jets fans' friends, and when they have kids, I'm like, why would you do that to the kid? Why don't you just raise him a Giants fan? Be happy.
I asked my boy Jeff. You know our boy Jeff, y'all met. I got one of my best friends, Jeff Brown, in L.A. Listen, he's one of the best people I know in my life, man. One of my best boys from high school in Queens, New York. Man, what he does to my godchildren is shameful. He's got them as Jets fans and Mets fans.
Right.
How bad can he be? I tell this to Jeff all the time, my godson Nicholas, man. To subject my godson to this, to being a Jets fan.
And sign him to a life of
misery.
But
I gave a pass once Bowles was there, but now.
So is there something about the organization that leads to this level of dysfunction?
I always say everything starts at the top and works its way on down. I mean, you look at all the really good organizations, what do they all have in common? They're strong at the top, and the message resonates on down.
I feel bad for Todd Bowles. That this is his shot at head coaching with the Jets. I feel bad for him.
Gotta leave it there. You are staying with us.
So for the first time this year, we got our handed to us. I thought they kicked our. I don't think we had a lot of effort. I don't see the film. I'm sure there were some people that showed effort, but for the most part, we got our kicked. It's very troubling when you get your kicked. I thought we got our handed to them, so we're going to see what kind of pride we got this week. And I just know we got our kicked. It appeared that they kicked our physically. Obviously, when you get your kicked like this and handed to you, I don't care whether it's Monday night or Sunday morning, you don't want these kind of games to happen, and it's the first time this year it's happened. I'm angry when I physically get my kicked instead of something happening mentally to get your kicked. When you get your kicked physically, that's embarrassing. You don't see signs of getting your kick, you just get a kick.
All right, that was Jets head coach Todd Bowles. Obviously, he's a friend of the show, Stephen A. But we got to ask, is it time for him to go?
No, I'm not going to go that far, because he had a winning season last year. And as long as people like Jeff Fisher have a job with the tenure that he has, I'll be damned if I'm going to be calling for Todd Bowles' job after just 2 seasons. Having said all of that, the Jets, to say that they should be ashamed of themselves doesn't even begin to touch on what I saw last night. Darrelle Revis, it's over. There's no such thing as Revis Island. Matter of fact, the only island that exists is the one that Revis decides to stand on by himself, because I've never seen him play off receivers so much in my life. It was the softest coverage I've ever seen Darrelle Revis engage in. He seems to have lost all of his confidence, if not all interest. The rest of the team, I was tweeting last night, I couldn't believe how wide open receivers were. I mean, Andrew Luck stood back there, took pictures, called the family, said, what's up? Ordered dinner, the whole 9. I mean, and the receivers did the same daggone thing. I mean, they literally walked into the end zone. There were no defenders within yards of these receivers. It made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Matt Forte, I felt bad for him because on one particular play, he got squashed. The minute he touched the ball, the defender, nobody had blocked him. Not one single offensive lineman had blocked him. It was one of the most embarrassing moments I've ever seen in Jets history. It was worse than the butt fumble. It was worse than it's fumbling the snap by Joe Pasarcik, and ultimately I think it was our very own Herm Edwards that picked up the ball in the 80s and ran it into the end zone for the Eagles against the Giants. I'm saying
had to
Giants.
bring that up.
I was thinking the Giants. I was thinking the Giants instead of the Jets, but it was worse than that moment. This was tantamount to the Rich Kotite era. And all New Yorkers know how bad that era was for the New York Jets. For the owner to be in attendance, for the new administration to contemplate making Woody Johnson for the Jets an ambassador, for the vice president-elect Pence to be in attendance, watching this stuff right there. If you're Todd Bowles, you're McCagnon, the general manager, it had to be incredibly uncomfortable to witness and wonder about yourself. This is one of the worst performances I have ever seen by a football team. It was that bad, but I'm still going to say it's one game. This season has been bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick will not be there next year. And Todd Bowles really needs to consider, and McCagnon, they got to clean a little house here in order. But it was really bad. But he should not be fired.
Let me first answer the question, and I want to talk about it because I don't take it lightly. Bowles got to go. He's got to go because the team quit on him. I have never seen a nationally televised game, at least I can't think of offhand, in any sport, where you saw one team quit so blatantly, just not try. I didn't watch the second half. Did you watch the second half of that game?
I did, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't watch the second half of that game. That was a disgrace. Now,
I'm ashamed to admit that I actually watched it.
Every city with two franchises, or generally cities with two franchises, the major metropolitan areas, have the heritage team and the clown team. And one of the problems with New York is in basketball, that's the same team. The Knicks are both the heritage and the clown team. That's why New York basketball fans suffer the way they do. But the clown team can come up in the world a little bit. The Clippers in LA right now. But in LA, the Lakers are the heritage team. Clippers are always going to be the clown team in that town. I mean, they've never been to conference finals, as you mentioned. It's just that's their brand. They can't escape that from a few years of good fortune and good play. And in New York in football, that is the story. The Giants are the heritage team, and the Jets are the clown team. And the reason they remain a clown team is because their owner has a dysfunctional franchise. So I want to get back to Bowles. I don't take it lightly given the percentage of players in the NFL who are African American versus the percentage of coaches who are African American. So when an African American coach gets a shot at being a head coach, I don't take it lightly saying, especially after a couple season and a half, oh, he needs to go. But in this case, and I'm not saying Todd Bowles might never be a good head coach. He is with a dysfunctional franchise. I don't see it getting any better because the franchise is the problem. If he stays, even if he somehow magically does a better job, it's still the same situation. You're still the head coach of the New York Jets. So though what I said is true about minority representation in front offices and at the head coaching position, I think in this case, the team don't want to play for him. Obviously, that was a disgraceful performance, the kind that gets head coaches fired. And even from Bowles' point of view, if there is a successful head coach in there in the future, listen, Belichick didn't do well in Cleveland when he stopped there at first, then he deserves better than this franchise too. I think that performance said it's time to go.
Well, first of all, let's hold him accountable in certain respects. Ryan Fitzpatrick shouldn't have been in there. Now, I don't blame Ryan Fitzpatrick for everything the way everybody else does. He had a horrific game where he threw 6 interceptions in one game. But outside of that, even though he hasn't been impressive by any shot, the fact of the matter is he's been the easy scapegoat as far as I'm concerned. But if you're Todd Bowles, you've got to know you should not have this man in there. You should be thinking towards the future. Players clearly quit, but that shows their character more so than his. I think that you go off of last year, And I think that McCagnon obviously has got to get better personnel. You can't let your quarterback wait until the 11th hour and 59th minute to come into camp to be ready to quarterback this team. I think all of those things hurt him. I think there were things off the football field that hurt Todd Bowles this year as well, which is why I would give him going into next season. But this was a very, very bad moment. If I'm Woody Johnson, I would hold on to it to dear life in terms of judging him moving forward into next season. This had better not happen again. It was bad.